Fellow FPL managers, guys, we are finally back for FPL. It has finally returned, and I could not be more excited, guys. We know a lot more about the blank and double game weeks as well, so let's get right into it. So here are the three fixtures that are gonna get postponed. Okay, we have City versus Aston Villa, we have Arsenal versus Crystal Palace, and we have Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. Now, we all know these are gonna be blanking in game week 34. Well, technically, they're all going to get postponed from game week 34, but the Forest versus Brentford game is not a likely blank. In fact, it's most likely going to get rescheduled to the midweek in game week 34, meaning Forest and Brentford will not blank and they will not double. That's not guaranteed, but it's the most likely scenario. As well on the screen here, we know the Arsenal versus Palace game and the City versus Aston Villa game is going to be a blank in game week 34. That's definitely going to happen. As for the double, it's very likely both these games get moved to game week 33, which is what I've got written down here, but it's not 100% confirmed. I just want to make that clear. The doubles and the postponements, where they're getting rescheduled to, we don't know for 100% yet, but we can make a good guess. So we finally know what's going to happen. And both these blanks and doubles, they're quite small, to be honest. It's quite disappointing. I was expecting a little bit more. Either way, it kind of helps my team quite a lot. You know, I've got 2 Arsenal players and 3 Crystal Palace players, so I could not be happier with the Crystal Palace qualification. As for the Man City and the Aston Villa blank and double, I don't own Man City players, I don't own Aston Villa players, and to be honest, I don't even know if I want to. I mean, Aston Villa are unreliable, the only good asset is Ollie Watkins, Haaland is overpriced, Marmoush is a minutes risk, and everyone else is just kind of bad. So I don't really even know what I'm going to do with those players. I might just ignore them completely, but things can change, form can change, you know, different players can come into the template, so we'll just have to see what happens. Manchester City in their double game week play away to Everton and home to Aston Villa, which I think is a pretty good double, but like I said, I don't know who the best players to go for are. I mean, if you want Haaland, you're going to have to sacrifice Salah, and to be honest, I don't think that's worth it. You know, we'll have to wait and see closer to the time. Right now, there's not a single player from Man City I really want in my team except maybe Gvardiol. That's about it. Aston Villa, they have some alright players. Like I said, Watkins is decent, and obviously Rodgers is a good player, and Asensio is in good form, even Marcus Rashford, but the double game week is difficult. They play home to Newcastle and away to Man City. That's not an easy double game week, guys. It's not a team I'm eager to own players from, you know. If I can't do it, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to take a -4 for it. I'm not taking a hit for it. But if I can bring some in, I might. As for Arsenal, they play away to Ipswich and home to Crystal Palace, which is very, very good. And hopefully, by that time, Saka will be back. So a double up on the Arsenal defence and owning Saka, maybe even for a triple captain play, which is what I'm considering, is quite a good idea. Even a triple up on the Arsenal defence ain't too bad. We all know how good the Arsenal defence is. As for Crystal Palace, their double's a little harder. They're going to be playing home to Bournemouth, which ain't so bad. You know, it's not awful, but then again, they go away to Arsenal, which, let's be honest, it's not easy. They're probably scoring 1 goal max, and they're probably going to concede. But, you know, at the end of the day, a double is a double, and home to Bournemouth isn't the worst fixture in the world, guys. Either way, you're going to want triple Crystal Palace because they double in game week 32 and they double in game week 33, even though all the fixtures are really, really hard. Like, let's be honest, away to Newcastle, away to Man City, away to Arsenal. They're not easy games. You know, like the likely scenario is they're not going to score massive, but when there's 2 double game weeks in a row, you simply cannot ignore it. When you've got players as good as Mateta, as good as Ismaili Sarr, as good as Munoz, with the form Crystal Palace are on, it's definitely a no-brainer, especially for me, guys. Either way, I'm getting triple Crystal Palace. Well, I already do have triple Crystal Palace because I played my free hit, and it's worked out perfectly for me. So yeah, small blank in game week 34, City, Villa, Arsenal, Palace. They're not going to play. That's 4 teams total. Same for the double in game week 33, which is the most likely scenario. These doubles could get moved to something like game week 36, but it probably won't happen. So this is what we can expect from the doubles and the blanks, which I would say it's all right. It's manageable for everyone, even if you have wildcard, even if you don't. On to the international break injury news. A lot of it's quite simple. I mean, Gvardiol had a bit of a scare, but he played 90 minutes in the FA Cup, so he's fit to start game week 30. As for Trent, he is still very doubtful. In fact, they expect him to be back by the end of April. So if you have Trent, he is probably worth a sell. I own Trent, and I probably won't sell him because it's just going to give me a benching headache. But I can assure you guys, he probably won't play for the next few game weeks, and that's a lot of money just sitting around on your bench if you don't sell him. So I would recommend you bring in someone like Gvardiol, you know, why not? Maybe an Arsenal defender if you already have Gvardiol. Both good options to sell Trent for. On to the cheaper defenders, Robinson is back, and I know a lot of people own Robinson, but let's be honest, you guys aren't going to want to play in this game week anyway because he plays away to Arsenal. As for Mykolenko, I know a few of you own Mykolenko as well, but let's be honest, you're not going to want to play him either. So if you own him, you're probably going to bench him anyway, and he's probably going to be back for next game week. So either way, you guys are all right with these cheap defenders. There's not too much to worry about. On to midfield, Palmer and Saka are two pretty big ones. Palmer and Saka, they're both training with the team. As for Palmer, he doesn't play until Thursday, which is good news because it gives him time to rest, gives him time to get back fit to play. The bad news is there probably won't be a pre-deadline press conference to give us any more info. As for Saka, there probably will be a press conference. I don't expect him to start the next couple game weeks, but I expect him to be slowly reintroduced to playing football. So that switch from Palmer to Saka could be worth it if Palmer's form is still terrible like it has been these last 6 or 7 game weeks, especially with Saka having a very, very good fixture run along with a great double game week. It's something I want to do, guys. I'm planning to triple captain Saka in game week 33, but we'll talk about it in a little while. Finally, as for the forwards, Mateta is back. He is ready to wreak havoc upon his opposition. You know, he's been scoring goal after goal after goal, and I really don't expect that to stop against Southampton of all teams. And Chris Wood, we don't know a lot. There's going to be another press conference because he plays on Tuesday, but he didn't get any game time in the FA Cup. So yeah, if you have Chris Wood and you don't have Mateta, that switch seems fairly simple to me. But then again, if Chris Wood, you know, turns out he's fine to start, he could also be worth holding because playing home to Man United isn't exactly difficult. Either way, Mateta's got 2 double game weeks in a row and plays Southampton in game week 30. So Wood to Mateta either way seems like the pretty obvious move to go for. Now guys, with the doubles and blanks confirmed, my chip strategy is pretty much set in stone. I used free hit in game week 29 and it turned out to be the right move with the way these FA Cup games have played out. The small double in game week 32, I'm going to use my bench boost. I already have 2 Newcastle players and 3 Crystal Palace players. Those are the only 2 teams that will have a double, and I'm pretty happy with it. I don't need to make too many transfers to get all 6 double game week players in my team. As for the bench, I like the way it looks for me. It's just going to be, you know, mostly defenders playing against easy teams, plus Gakpo, who may not even be reliable at this point, so he might need to get changed. Either way, my bench in game week 32 will look a lot better than my bench in game week 33. That's the deciding factor for me, purely because I have a lot of Newcastle players, and those Newcastle players are going to be playing away to Aston Villa in game week 33. It's probably best they're sat on my bench, which means for game week 33, I'm going to want to use the triple captainship. Now, Saka is my prime candidate, but obviously Haaland exists too. It's definitely going to be out of those 2 if Saka's back, but I don't fancy sacrificing Salah for Haaland. So if Saka isn't back, I probably may even go for Mateta at that point, you know, because I really, really don't fancy Haaland whatsoever. But like I said, a lot can change between now and game week 33. Like Haaland could find his form and Salah could go off form. We don't know. Then finally, with the wild card left, we can cover the blank game week in 34, cover ourselves for the rest of the season, and also cover ourselves in case any of those double game weeks go to game week 36 instead of game week 33. It's a pretty sound chip strategy. If you still got your wild card left, your chip strategy is also quite simple. Your wild card in game week 31, you know, you want to wait as long as possible. You want to try not to do it in game week 30, just so we can, you know for definite where these double game weeks are going to be. Then in game week 32 and game week 33, triple captain and bench boost is going to go flying wherever you want. If you've got assistant manager left, you're going to have to wait until after game week 34 because you're going to want to use your free hit in game week 34, guys, or else you're doomed. Okay, so yeah, chip strategy is, you know, pretty much sorted now. There's, you know, 1 or 2, maybe 3 ways to go based on how many chips you have left and which chips you have left, but it's mostly simple. Let me know down in the comments, guys, if you've got your own unique chip strategy that you're thinking of using, because play the game your own way at this point. You know, why not? You know, you want to do your thing, you want to go differential, you know, do something outlandish, go for it if it's going to work for your team. So yeah, that's the injury news talked about, that's the double and blank game weeks talked about, that's the chip strategy discussed. Now we're going to look at my team and how we're lining up for game week 30. And guys, may I say, this is probably the best team you're going to see lining up for game week 30. You know, green fixtures everywhere. I could have even given that Fulham home game that Arsenal have a green, but you know, I like to be fair. Fulham are pretty tough. You know, it's just about a grey fixture nearly are green. And, you know, the Arsenal defence is solid, so I'm expecting a clean sheet from Arsenal here. The clean sheet odds are pretty high, you know, about 50-50. Hopefully they come through and get me some points. Alongside those two, we have Mune odds away to Southampton and Kirkes home to Ipswich. Both players with a lot of goal involvement potential, and of course with the easy fixtures, some clean sheet potential as well. I cannot wait for my defence to bag me loads of points this game week, guys. As for the midfield, we talked about Palmer a little bit. I'm going to keep my faith in Palmer because I've got a bit of bench cover in Dan Burn playing home to Brentford. But either way, I don't expect that to be an issue. I do expect him to play at the end of the day. We're not taking any risks with captaincy, even though technically speaking, looking at the bookies odds, Palmer is the best captaincy option. I made that mistake once and I'm not going to make it again. Along with the two big dogs, along with the two premiums, we've got two amazing assets. Another Bournemouth player in Clive playing home to Ipswich, and the big time on form is Ismaila, who I've owned for like the past 10 game weeks now. And I've got to say, I'm really proud of myself for holding him through all those blanks. You see, when you're a smart FPL player and you play patient, rewards come through. Okay, you know, be more like FPL bodies. As for the front line, Gakpo is kind of a weak link. If he doesn't start, I'm probably going to consider selling him. But, you know, we'll see. He's definitely the best second Liverpool attacker. Like, he's definitely better than Diaz, Jota and Nunes. But, you know, maybe Arnslot doesn't agree with me. Maybe he wants to keep Gakpo on the bench. Then we have Mateta. We already talked about him a little bit. You know, he's amazing. He's on great form. He's almost definitely going to score as well. So, yeah, happy with that one. And finally, Isak. I've seen a few people sell Isak for Haaland. I think those guys are absolute donuts, to be honest. I think they're stupid. I don't care if Haaland's playing home to Leicester. Haaland sucks right now, okay? He's not good. So yeah, much happier owning Isak instead of Haaland. I feel bad for the guys that made that transfer because I feel like some of them are even realising, you know, they made a mistake. Anyway, guys, that's just about it for Game Week 30. The next video is going to be a Game Week 31 wildcard video. So if you're on wildcard, stay tuned for that. If you did make it this far, you are greatly appreciated. Guys, thank you for watching. It feels good to be back playing FPL. I'm ready to be let down. I'm ready to be disappointed, even though my team looks so good. I'm probably going to take a massive L and fall outside the top 100k. So yeah, guys, I will see you all in the next video.